Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning today's 3 Prakim Rambam. We are learning Hilchos, Shluchin, Vishutvim. Today's chapters are 8, 9, and 10. We are beginning with Perek Shmini. Just a quick recap. We learned over Shabbos, already beginning 2 chapters ago, Perek, the 6th chapter, and the 7th chapter, about the Iska. The Iska means, Yaron, that if you have 2 people involved in a business partnership in which one comes with the money, he's called the Baal Hamois, or otherwise known as the investor. The other person is doing all the work. He's called the Mitasek. The Mitasek means the administrator. If their agreement was, just for example, that if, God willing, there'll be profits, they'll split it half and half. So first of all, the Chachamim established that the money that was given for the business is to be divided legally into 2 different parts. One part is called the loan. The loan meaning that no matter what happens, you owe the money back. Just like when I lend you money. When I lend you money, even if, God forbid, you lost the money, that's not my problem. You owe the money. The other half of the money is considered the pikadon. Pikadon means that it's always considered my money. Always my money. You're just guarding it. You're just watching over it. You're like the custodian. And therefore, if the money is lost, you don't have to give it back. Half the money is mine, half the money is yours, which is why if there are profits, half is yours and half is mine. On top of that, the Chachamim said the following: if indeed we do view the money that way, which explains why I'm getting half of the profit, but I didn't do any of the work. The administrator did all of the work. The administrator wasn't only working with his loaned money, borrowed money, he was working with the money that belongs to the Baal HaPikadon. Why was he working for me for free? The answer is because I loaned him money. That's called ribis. Not biblical ribis, but it's called the shadow of ribis, avak ribis. So therefore, the Chachamim said that the guy that's doing all the work must be compensated. And there's different calculations that we learned in the previous 2 chapters, but there has to be some compensation to justify why was he doing all the work. After he's paid, then indeed, if there are profits, the profits are to be split in half. So based on that premise, we're going to learn more about these types of iskav, business dealings. Again, the capital is from one, the workers from the other, and we have to make sure that aside of the division of the profits, the one doing the work gets compensated for the work that he is doing. Perek Shmini has 7 halachas, beginning with halacha aleph. Hanoisen beitzim lebal tanagoyim lahoshav hatanagoyim aleim. So here we have the investor is not coming in with cash. The investor is coming in with eggs. He's giving his eggs to a chicken farmer. Speaking about eggs, that if you have a hen sitting on them, they will hatch into chicklets. And that was the deal. So the chicken farmer will be sitting his hens on someone else's eggs until the chicklets will hatch. And furthermore, it's not just for them to hatch, is that the chicken farmer will also occupy himself in raising them until a certain point, and then the revach will be divided in between them. So again, same concept. One guy came with the capital. The other person is doing all the work. They are dividing the profits. Iska, chatzi malva, chatzi milva, chatzi pikadon. What about avak ribis? So the Baal HaTanagoyim has to be compensated in addition or prior to making the division. That's the din. Very good. And if not for that, the truth is he's working even in the half of the Baal HaBeitzim because of the milva, avak ribis. No, he's getting paid. Another type of business, when you first evaluate calves, right, young cows. Siyachim are ponies, and you give them to a shepherd. And the shepherd is misasik b'hem. He's going to do work with them until they become adults. And then the added value is divided into half. Here again, has to get paid a daily minimum salary. Umegadlin oisam, another detail. What does old mean? You raise them until the agolim become 3 years old. And the chamoid has to be old enough. It's not about the age, but it's until that this donkey is capable of bearing a burden. Another nuance, aside of the getting paid every day to resolve the avak ribis, we also learned about when people enter a shutvis until a specific time, No one can back out until that specific time. Here, the deal was until they become old. That's the specific time, and no one can back out. If you entrust your animal to a animal fattener, they feed it until it becomes, substantially more valuable. And then here also, now, if the fattener tells the owner of the animal, or the owner of the animal tells the fattener that the head or the tail will be yours for your work, aside of then us dividing 50-50 the profits, that's also permissible. In other words, that's another way of resolving the avakribis, guys, as we learned over Shabbos and Perek Vav, that in many cases you can pay the guy a dinner. Because it doesn't have to always be a daily salary. Va'ayin Sham 2 chapters ago, but this is also enough of a resolution to the avakribis. If this guy has other animals that he's also working on to fatten them, or if this chicken farmer has other eggs, so here he's working anyways. So here you resolve the avakribis even with a lesser amount of money. Doesn't have to be daily. And also, guys, as we learned in the 6th chapter, that if this, whatever it is, the Bal Hatad Negolim or the Mefatim, if he happens to be a sharecropper to the one who gave him the merchandise, then you don't have to give him anything. All you need to do is, that's it, you divide the profits enough. Gewaltig. Halacha beis. Hasham agolem usiyachim, oy hoyshiv tanegolim, oy sham behema lapatom lamachtzas aschar. And now what happens? V'loy hela sachar. Made the investment, you did the work, but there ain't no profit. So then, which is what we learned. Again, we learned Shabbos. Perek Vav Halachi Gimel. Royin. Bekama shamu abehemos ayabetzim. Bekama hirvichu. No, it's if they did not make up how they will to get paid. So then there is a default law. All of this is in the 6th chapter, and as the Rambam paskened already before. The noitel hamasasik shnei shalishi aschar. All of this is to resolve the avakribis. Halachigim. Shaman part of a chamoid. V'chol davar shedarkei lasos v'lecho. You evaluate. He's giving examples of animals that they perform work and they eat. V'yeh haschar le'emsa b'shav. In other words, whenever I am, Yaron, working with an animal, that I, while I'm working with the animal, benefit from the animal, because the animal is an animal that's working. That's the reason why I'm working with the other person's money. Even though only one guy's doing all the work, before we were speaking about an egg. An egg doesn't provide any service. There's no benefits. But if I am working with animals that while I'm feeding them, I also get the benefit from their work, that is a resolution for avakribis. Because another a rule says that Rambam, the ein shamim egelim imoy, v'loy siyachim imoy. Egel v'hasiyach, a calf and a pony, they don't do any work, but they require a lot of work. So the examples we gave before, that's why the Rambam spoke about paying a salary, or you're going to end up getting 2/3 of the profit, or if there's a loss, you're going to lose a lesser amount because they don't do any work. Even though you're working with the calf and with the mother, for the mother is providing work for you. That's the nature. This child doesn't do any work. Halacha dalet. Hasham behem lachaveiroi. Hasham behem lachaveiroi. So again, admosai chayiv li tapul bo. This is going back to what we learned last week, that when you enter a business partnership for a specific zman, you have to work until that time. So what's the rule? So ba'asoinais, if you are raising female donkeys, 18 months. Ubagoidrois, all other animals that live in a corral, that live in a geder, which is Treinu Bakar, that's the norm. These types of businesses was you raise them until they are 24 months. Now, by the way, you have to remember, because actually in other partnerships, when you open up a partnership, stam, which means she'ein lo isman kotzuv, the Rambam actually paskin that any party can back out whenever they want. What he means stam is that since these months, the 18 months and the 24 months is the norm, you didn't say otherwise. So it's as if you said befedish, we are going into partnership for 12 months or for 18 months or for 24 months. When you make that agreement, no one can back out until the time is up. Now, why do you have to wait that long? I'll tell you why, because when the animal is younger than that, in the beginning, you're investing a lot more food and you're getting a lot less added profit. But it's not fair to dismantle the business earlier. In the people, the amount of investment you have to make in the first year is a lot of money. And even though you're feeding the animal a lot of food, the added value is very little. It doesn't get fattened up. Later, which there, ironically, you invest less and you have a greater return. And speaking about the goydrois, where the Rambam says 24 months, and even when it comes to the asoynois, still 18 months is Seder, it's the second year. What happens if while you're doing that work of raising it, it gave birth? So how do you evaluate that child? That is part of the revach, and that will be divided into half. Now, if the minig is for this caretaker, whenever there is a child, to continuously invest his time and money also in the child, so then you gadlo until when? 18 months, 24 months. However, even where the minig is that this caretaker, if he never undertook to raise children that are born, then he doesn't have to do that. Yet, there is a certain amount of time that he does have to busy himself in raising these children. It's much more limited. And that is, if it's the daka, Sainu Bakar, Shloishim Yoim, the Bagasa would be a para, would be a Hamoid when they're children, when they're babies, for 50 days, and then V'cholkin. That suffices. But if this guy wants to keep on raising them, so then Sham Oisam Ifnei Shloisham, then you have to go into a basin to make a new evaluation. When do you do it? Whenever your original obligation expired, which is either 30 days, daka, or 50 days, magasa. And now that it's evaluated of its current value, now listen to this cheshbon. Then you will get 3/4. Why will you get 3/4? Normally the rule is it's half and half. Half and half. Here you're getting 3/4. Then I will explain how you get to that. And the chaveri will only get 1/4. Why? Because when the baby is born, half of it is yours. Half of it is already yours. That's the deal. Now you're making what's the new agreement? That the half that belongs to the chaver is being given to you as an asik. What's the rule of an asik? Half and half. So now from his half, you might get half. Half becomes like a loan. That's how you get to the 3/4. So therefore, since you're working with the half of your colleague, you get half of his half, which now makes it a sum total that you're getting 3/4. Now, all of the above, again, we're speaking about the mokim that you decided that you're going to raise it until the 24 months, and you took it in front of a beis din, then it worked. Because then you're making it clear that you are making a new deal regarding these animals, which anyways already belong half to you. But like we said, now you're getting half of of the investor set. But if you didn't do such a thing in front of a beis din, that means that you were moichel. Moichel means that you are fine with whatever the agreement is for everything else. We'll continue over here. What's the agreement for everything else? It's just a normal half and half. And therefore, Habalodis B'neim will be Shava. Next, Then ma'alin, which means that whenever the administrator, see, when you're working with animals, when it comes to business, how much business expense is the administrator allowed to claim prior to making the division? Don't forget, the division is the profit at the end. Some of the business expenses, that's a big machlokes when it comes to partners. Two people, again, we're speaking about one guy came with the money, one guy's doing all the work. Imagine if the guy that's doing all the work decides to become a putitz. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to hire people to do this. I hire people to do that. He ends up spending money that he could have done by himself. The less money he spends, the more there is at the end to divide in half. So what is the norm? So he says like this, if the minig is, Harkatev is just an example. You're dealing with animals, you have to sometimes carry them. So if in this location, it's acceptable that the administrator is allowed to hire people to schlep the animals. That money has to be taken out of the pot prior to dividing it in half. It happens also to be that if this admin says, I'll do it, he gets paid for that. In other words, it means it should be considered, yakir, as a business expense. If there's a business expense, the business expense comes from the business. That means it's going to diminish both people's profits, but it's going to diminish it also from the chaver. If I am spending money on something that the minig is that I have to do it myself, I can still spend money, but then it will be deducted only from my half. So if the minig is that you pay people to schlep the animals, then it's deducted from both. Was any type of expense that is the norm is going to be charged to the business. That if there are children and you're going to get paid specifically for the children, then malin. Then if you want to have another agreement, no one is stopping you of spelling out exactly what you would like to happen in this case or in that case. But if you never make those stipulations, you have to follow the local link. And one guy owns, here we're not speaking about an asik of giving money. Here you own land. Shimon is doing the work, whether it is to seed it, whether it is to plant it, and all other monies that are needed is something that Shimon is the guy that's going to administer everything. And he's going to sell it at the end. And now, obviously, all of the money that Shimon spent for the seeds, for whatever he needed to spend, that's taken away prior to the division of the profit. That comes from the business. And the agreement is then they should divide it in half. Here, what's amazing is it's amazing. In other words, everything we learned, guys, until now, it's amazing that this is in the middle of a Pedic. Everything we learned in Pedic Vav and in Pedic Zayin and now in half of Pedic Ches, that whenever you have this type of iska, you have an issue with avakribis that has to be resolved by the one doing the work getting paid in addition, you don't have when it comes to real estate. Which makes perfect sense, because when it comes to metaltalin, the metaltalin might get lost. Karka doesn't get lost. You're not loaning anything to him, and it's not a pikadon to any of it. It's none of that. Garnished. You own the land. He's doing the work. That's all it is. And the agreement is he's going to get paid for his work, half, a third, whatever the agreement is. That is what we called an audis. Whenever you read about a sharecropper, don't fadrei a audis with iska. But when it comes to metaltalin, and it's like we learned, it's ma'ois or metaltalin. There is where we view half of it as a milva. If it's half a milva, yachap yakir, the moment there's a milva involved, you got ribis. There's ribis associated to loans. If none of it is viewed as a loan, why would it be viewed as a loan? You don't need to secure anything because the land is not going anywhere. If there's no milva involved, then there's no ribis involved, so you don't have to compensate the worker beyond the deal of half and half or a third b'chuli.
Even if Shimon were to fund the operation, the budget operation, correct?
Doesn't make a difference.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, Shimon is doing it, and the rule is that when Shimon sells the produce, first he's going to get back the hoitzah, and then they're going to divide the profits. Anything the kid is trying to ask is that if there's money that was invested in the land, why shouldn't that money? Because when Shimon does it, he's not taking the loan; it's his own money. And when Reuven is the one that's investing the money, he's not lending it to Shimon. There's no loan involved.
Right, but when Reuven is lending it from a loan, when Shimon investing the money.
No, it's.
Albat Be'alim.
Let's leave that open. Right there. Now, what happens if there's a machlokes between these two parties, the landowner and the sharecropper? What was the agreement of the percent? So the other says the deal was I'm going to get half of the ultimate profit. The balasada says no, you're only going to get a third. So what do you do? Bal shohided arisin benichsa ishte. We're speaking dafka about nechsa meloig. It's property that really belongs to the wife. Elamah, during the marriage, the husband has user fruit. The husband made up with an artist to go work. And then he divorces his wife, which means the land fully goes back to the wife. If the husband himself was the sharecropper, then Nistal Kabal is no longer a husband. Nistal Kohen. Nistal Kohen means he's an artist and he hired people to work for him. They were never working directly for her. He's an artist and then he got subcontractors. So since he's no longer an artist, so all of the money that they invested, even that they cannot get back so quick. The moment there is a get, like we learned, if there's two partners and one of them passes away, the whole partnership right away came apart. Here also, the moment there's a divorce, the whole deal goes away. And what happens if they keep on to invest money? In other words, they are granted what they invested only if it's equal to the increase in value. They're going to get back? They're not going to get paid anything. They should have known there's a divorce, the deal is up. They invested money. If the profit, right, if the increase in value at least covers their hoitzah, they'll get that back. But they only get the hoitzah if they actually increase that amount. And they have to take an oath. How do you know how much they invested? You have to swear. The aim bal is. But if they were not working for the husband simply helped his wife by getting arisim. They were not working for the husband. The husband is not an artist. The husband is a banker. He doesn't work with the land. So now he got those workers to work for his wife. The fact that they were divorced, it doesn't dismantle that agreement. Aldas ha'aretz yardu. They did not go down aldas habal. They went down as sharecroppers for whoever owns the land, and therefore, even though there was a divorce, Shaman lahem ka'aretz. Gabe, you're making a face. It makes sense to me. It resonates a lot.
I don't really understand the difference whether the husband is an artist or not. End of the day, these guys were hired to work the field, and they're doing the job. Why in one case does it terminate, and in the other case it doesn't? Because
if they think about it, then if the husband himself is working on the land, Elamah, he needs more hands. So the relationship between the workers was they're working for this guy. You have an insurance business, right? If you hire additional people and you are in the business, they feel like they're working for you. They're working for you. If the husband is not a sharecropper, b'chlal, even though the wife was not the one that went to look for these workers, but he told them, this is a property, he tells them it belongs to my wife, it's nechsa meloig, I'm looking for workers. They went in over there, they never saw themselves as working for the husband. The wife never looked at them as people working for the husband. So who cares if there's a divorce? Okay, final halacha in this chapter, halacha zayin. Ha'achim oishar ha'yorshim that did not divide Yerushas Moirishon, which means that they are partners. Elo kulam v'shtamshim b'yachad, so they are considered like shutrim l'chol davar. Now we're going back not to the topic that we began in Perek Vav. We're going back to the general topic of partnerships. So here you have brothers that they are partners, and therefore if one of them was hired to work in the government and he was given a nice amount of profit, listen to these words, that profit does not go to that brother, that profit goes to everyone. Why would that be? So first of all, some people limit the law of the Rambam. If you remember this in the Gemara, is that when the king hired one of the brothers, the king said, "Oh, I remember their father. The father passed away. Let's help them." You know, there was an expression that he's hiring one because he's the ben of the father. So the king wants to help the family. He hired this son because he was the most competent. But it was, and not to be understood that he's hiring him for him. Also, if one of the brothers gets sick, they're living off the estate of the father, so then this comes from the pot. You don't say later if there's going to be a chalukah, this is coming from your share. You don't look at it that way. But if someone got sick because he was negligent, right? That's the example. He went in the snow. He exposed himself. He went to Florida. You understand? Until he got sick. Then very good. We're moving on to today's second chapter. Perek Chi. Perek Chi is going to speak about a very unique oath called Shvuas Hashutfim. Perek Chi has 9 halachas. Let's dive right into what is this Shvuas Hashutfim. Halach Hashutfim kulan, partners, all types of partnerships, including sharecroppers, as we just mentioned. The fact that they're getting part of the nevach, they're going to be classified as partners with the owners of the land. And apitropsim or apitropin dafke sheminu oisam bezdin ala yisayim. A guardian is considered some sort of partner, even though he has no skin in the game at all. But we're going to speak about scenarios, Yaron Haltkov, that one guy is doing work. The owners don't know exactly what he's doing. He's not being micromanaged. And any person who does a lot of work might come to the point, it's called he'll be moideheter to himself, justify himself by saying, I know that we made an agreement that I'm only going to get half and half. But if God knows that what I did, no one else would have done. And the types of profits that I'm bringing about because of my great expertise, no one else would have done. I deserve more than half and half. Or there are certain expenses that I cut out. I want to get some of that. It's when one person is doing all the work for others, even though the partners, or even this apitropis, he's a guardian. He doesn't own anything. He'll be more ahead of lots. When he says the emes is that I deserve some of this pot. And therefore, even though people are honest, there's an added suspicion that this person might have taken something for himself, which halachically he was not allowed to do so. Now, why does this not go to a guardian that was appointed by the father? The Rambam will write about that later. Just remember this opening over here. We'll get back to that later. Or another example, a woman, a wife, shehi noises v'noisenes b'toich habayis. So the husband is doing all the work. And think about it, running a home, we know what that means. It's pashut, it's a job. You're administering a job. And you know how a wife goes, she knows how to buy, she knows how to this. She can save a lot of money from doing things smarter. And then she can tell herself, here's a chayin, I just saved my husband every week. He doesn't even appreciate it. He doesn't even understand. If I would be like all the other wives, he would have to earn another 10 grand a month. Ubemela, some of the money is mine. You understand? The husband has a store and he decided, why should he hire a worker and pay the worker? He asked his wife, she should be the storekeeper. You understand? Or the final one is Ben Bias. Now, Ben Bias, we'll define more details later. Ben Bias is certain homes, the guy hires what we say a manager, a Ben Bias. Now, Mistama, he pays him by you can sleep here, you can eat here. Maybe he gives him a little bit of money, but these are people that are running other people's businesses. And many times they are amazing and they are underappreciated. And they know that because of their chachma, they saved a lot of money. They feel they have a right to some of that. So kol echad me'elu, if the other one, the owner of the money, the other partner, the people who have these guardians, if they want, nishba midivrem b'taina safik. This is the only time that even if I don't have a definite claim against you, I can be mechayiv you to make an oath. What am I saying? Maybe Shema gosel chaveri b'masu b'matam. Shema like didik b'cheshnu shebeneim. There's more details to that, but that's the novelty. That's called shvuas hashutvim, and it covers all of the cases that we gave. Now, when you have a tainas vaday, this is a tainas suffix. The Gemara we says the words moida heted, that I'm dafka, if that's the right version. What it means is that they paskin for themselves, they rule for themselves. That what? Whatever they're taking in addition is they taka, it's theirs. Because of their extra efforts, because of their smarter efforts. Even if there's only a tiny suffix, and that will prevent them from doing anything wrong. Now, halacha base, some details about it. Guys, remember, if you remember, a ma is a sixth of a dinner. No, it's a tiny. It's not swear that you didn't take anything of mine. That's too vague. Swear that you didn't take $1,000. The minimum has to be that you didn't take 2 ma'am. Not that I know that you took it. Maybe you took it. There has to be some specificity. The value of what the chashash is about, and the minimum is these 2 ma'am, as we'll learn. Then they can't make them take an oath. You know, many people want to know where the Rambam got this money from. I know we had these numbers, but But anyways, this is many people wonder where this comes from. That if one of the partners died, this oath is only on if the other partner is living. Why? In other words, the fact that halacha base exists, that it has to be a minimum time of suffix, it means it's not stam a suffix. Because you can ask an halacha base, I don't understand. So let anyone just say, swear you didn't misappropriate tuma. No, it's not that way. It means that the owner, the other shutiv, has a certain suspicion about something specific. It's just he doesn't know vadai. There's 2 types of sveikas. There's maybe you stole something. No, we don't do that. There's a specific doubt. And a yoidish doesn't have a specific doubt. It's too vague a suffix.
It seems like anytime there's this administrator who's in this position has this potential resentment. You're saying even though there's a
shvuas hashutvim is a shvua that he'll make the simcha. He'll, just like the Rambam says, he'll make sure that he does everything but tzedek v'amun. It works.
We're not pushing him just because he's in that job.
That's right. And I'll tell you more than that's why you cannot say swear you didn't do anything wrong. Halacha base means there has to be some
basis.
You know, in this deal, you can't do it.
You can't assume that just because he's doing that job,
But
he's going to be a resentful person.
Because if that would be the meaning, then halacha base doesn't fit.
Right.
Then, because it's always going to be 2 kesef. There has to be something more specific, which is why a yoidish can do it. The yesh mishahoida that even here shemashbia oisa ha yoidish b'tana shamoy. The Rambam says ubezeru eilad. The Rambam accepts the latter. Shahadei hayor shemashbia nasa isha shenashas apitrapa b'chaya baila that we know from Chazal, which is the same exact thing. But even the Yarshim, they have to have a specific time. Let's be specific. You made a big deal right now, but they know it makes sense. There was some big happening, and they see the way this apitrupas, he came home and he says, guys, you don't have no idea what I did. They begin to boast with my chachma, this, and you see, and all of that is yours. Swear you didn't take anything. How do you, even in a scenario where you don't even have witnesses that this guy's a partner or an artist, So you would say that the guy is amigo, right? If there's no proof other than him admitting, and he's telling you, I didn't steal anything, still, if there is this kind of shemar, let's define a ben bayis. There's a limit. It's not anyone who's helping in the house over here. They call them by the Chassidish a house bacher. The one who actually is in charge of hiring workers. You understand? The one who is in charge of buying produce or of selling produce. If he's not involved in business affairs, not involved. He's in charge of the what's called a butler. That's not called a ben bayis because he's not doing business affairs. Now, the Rambam began by speaking about an apetrupas, like we mentioned, and an apetrupas that falls under this shvuas hashutvim is only an apetrupas that was appointed by a beis din, not a one that was appointed by the father. I think Rabbi Shalman, that answers he's going to address maybe a little bit of this resentment. You can't make him swear. You know why you can't make him swear? Because why would a person ever become an apetrupas if he's right away under suspicion? 1 second. And if Beis Din appointed you, so when Beis Din decides, that this guy is a trustworthy apetrupas, this is good for you. You benefit because you're being declared in public that du bist a mensch that Beis Din trust. Kedai for you. So there's a benefit. When the father asked of you, what's the benefit? Only to be in a position where right away they're going to be chosh at you. Very good. That's why you can't make him swear. The
shvua is not on the position; it's on the deal. If I think that there's something missing in the deal,
very good. That's the meaning. That's halacha base. Very good. She did not become an apetrupas when the husband was alive, and she didn't yet do any admin work after the burial. The only thing she did was, after the husband passed away, she made sure that whatever needs to be sold to get money for the kavura, she took care of that right away. On that, they can never make her swear. Also, because whoever does that knows they're under suspicion. People don't want to be under suspicion. If the only deals that she did was to make more sure there's money for the kavura, we want for people to feel free to do whatever you need to do quick to get money for the kavura. If not, the kavura will be delayed. Meaning, because she'll be hesitant, and there'll be a delay in the burial. If you send an article with your friend for him to sell it, but in the case of not of a shuta, but of a shliach, but the shliach is doing you a favor, he falls in the category of a ben bayis, because by the way, this guy will also be moed heter. Same logic. For the specific deal. Yeah. Or when he brings him back the money that partners are working together. They are both involved in the business. Or if one is entrusting merchandise to the other, but they so trust each other that so here, it's each one can be told to swear. But only one of them doing the business. One partner is what we learned Taka just now about Iska. One guy was only the Baal HaMois. You can never tell the Baal HaMois to swear. He never did any work. Because it's about a deal. In other words, if you are removed from the bank, if you are removed from it, Is it shaykh that you stole? Yeah, but it's too much of a suffix. Only the one that was hands-on can be told to swear. Halacha zayin. If they divided their partnership, or if there's a divorce, or v'nifed olav ben bayis, the shasak, or in the case that we just learned, you asked someone to be your shliach. He went, he did what he told you, he brought back the merchandise, and at the moment of finishing the deal, at that moment, you didn't evoke shvuas hashutfim. Point is that you only have one opportunity to do so. You can't do it forever. Oh, 4 years ago, now that I'm thinking, make an oath. Too late. It's very important. Notice when partners dissolve the partnership, if you want to do this right away. However, so that's rule number one. Shvuas hashutfim can only be made immediately. But there's something called Gilgal Shvua, as we'll speak out in a moment. Guys, we're going to learn soon. I think we began this already, learning this last year. It's recorded. Hilchos Tiny V'nitin about Gilgal Shvua. So first of all, the opportunity for one to demand for the other to make such a type of oath is while they are working together or at the moment of the dissolution of the partnership, not afterwards. Shtika then is, I forgive this type of death. But if there's also going to be a tanis vadai, which can always happen, that you never lose your right to make a tanis vadai. It means you discover we were partners, we dissolved our partnership. 2 years later, I can look over the accounting, you look, and we say, no, not suffix. This is wrong. Whenever, and tanis vadai, just to know the way it works, if I claim that you owe me money, when you're a kofer hakol, midoiraisa, you don't have to take an oath at all. Midrabanan, you take a shvuas heses. If I am already machayvi or shvuas heses, then I can add, now that you're anyway swearing, swear the shvuas hashutfim. That's called the Gilgal Shvua. Once a person anyways has to take an oath, you can roll into that oath something that by itself was not strong enough to be mashbiah someone else. Any other oath. And we're going to learn all of these rules of oaths. Going that later you make a new partnership. Rabbi Shalom. We make a new shutfis 20 years later. You understand? Or you become a ben bias again. And during that new partnership, you can evoke shvuas hashutfim. For that, since you're swearing, swear on the past. Which is what you're asking the guy to. And then you add and not in the past. Or just add the words arisi, ben besi, apetrupa berishoina, v'chen kocha yosef as a guy's Gilgal Shvua. We're going to see is a concept we're going to learn in Hilchos Tov minute. Halacha 8. Hashutfim shechalku, partners dissolved the partnership. And we just said that once they dissolved a partnership, there's no more shvuas hashutfim. But 1 second, other people owe them money. In other words, we divided the partnership. It's not done yet because that person owes the partnership money. Just because others owe money to the partners does not bind them together. Because money, we learned this on Shabbos, money is already divided. Whatever money is owed, it's already divided. If it's 50-50, whatever, it's going to be 100 money. It comes already in units. There's still a debt. No. It's a set amount of money. Whenever that entity will pay what they owe, but it doesn't make them into partners. Now, let's go in the other direction. Another thing, they dissolve the partnership, but they still have money in their joint account, but they know how much money is there. That's called the partnership is over. Because if you know how much money is there, it's already divided. You understand? Even though no one took it out of the account, same thing. It was a bag. But that's it. Because money is as if it's already divided. If they made a calculation in the dissolution of the partnership, and there's a specific known entity that's beyond one of the partners, and it was already established that belongs to the other one. Just because it is in his hands, it doesn't mean they're still partners. But in contrast, if they have any schayda, whether it is paytas, and it's an unknown value, we don't know exactly how much paytas it is. Even if there's a market that we know that a pound of wheat costs, we don't know how much we have. Even if it's a small amount. Meaning, or any part of the partnership which even though they were partners in $1 million business, whatever was left unresolved is pachem ketanim. If it's still not known and a cheshbon still has to be made, they are still considered partners. And therefore, while you are still partners, each one, if both of them were doing the work, or the one that was doing the work is still subject to having to respond to a shvuas hashutfim, even though the claim is only a saf. Final halacha test. Like we mentioned, once the division was made, and on that past partnership only through a gilgul, like we just mentioned. Nevertheless, this is coming up every now and then. Avol yesh loyla hachrim stam al misha gozoli klum kishoy shotafay oyarisoy obenbeisoy velo yoyde b'meshagazol. There is always one instrument which doesn't demand for the accused party to have to do anything, but the accuser can always make a declaration that I am putting in chedim someone, and he's specifying we were partners. If you stole from me, may you be in a chedim. That's something that you always have the right to do. But today's third chapter, the final chapter, is Perek Asiri. Now we're learning about more various kindness that partners have one on the other. A chapter of complaints. And by the way, this chapter is also the final chapter of Hilchei Shluchim V'Shutvim, which also means, guys, that tomorrow we're starting Hilchei Savadim. Hilchei Savadim is the last series of halachis in the whole Sefer of Kinyan, which is the 12th Sefer. We finish Avadim, but God willing, we're going to the 13th Sefer out of the 14th Svarim, which is quite amazing. That means we're coming towards the end. All right, Perek Asiri has 6 halachas, beginning with halacha al. All of this means we could have slept more. Bottom line, halacha al. Shutev shetoin al chaveroin shekach hoyatnai b'neinu. We had such an agreement, we had such a stipulation, and the other partner says lo hoyatnai zema'ila. Another, shetoin hakeren sheli yoikach v'kach. It's gefrelach. They both admit that they agree to 50-50 revach. But 50-50 revach doesn't mean that they came in with the same amount of money. The Rambam specifically said that the money that you put into the investment does not determine by default the proportion of the, it's very known that Rambam gave the example. One guy gives 100, one guy gives 200, one guy is 300. If they didn't say otherwise, money that was used from this collected pot will be divided by 3. Everyone gets a third. In other words, now each one is claiming, okay, we always divided it, each one an equal share, but now that we are going to go back to the Keren, I came in with a different number, it's Gefrel. You came in with a small amount of money. Another machlokes, a kindness. I already gave you the share. And that guy says, no, this is my part already. The other guy says, no, this is Mishal Emsa. This still belongs to, we didn't divide this yet. Says that Rambam, which means we just learned Perek Shi, we just learned the concept of Shvuas Hashutfim. Let's not forget that there's a general concept of Shvuas Heses, which means that if I claim you owe me something that you have is mine, even though if I don't have one aid, you don't even have to swear. Whenever you're kofer hakol, you have to swear. So really, this partner can choose which one of the 2 oaths he would adjure his partner. Because either he can use Shvuas Heses or he can use Shvuas Hashutfim. He gets to choose that. The Rambam explains, Ketzah. Im rotzat teveya, shaloi yashbi hashutf Shvuas Hashutfim. He doesn't want him to use. I just want you to know, guys, Shvuas Hashutfim is more chamer. We learned Shvuas Hashutfim is medikitas chayfetz. It's crazy. Shvuas Heses is more lenient. He gets to decide. Only the Yashbiyoi Hesses Altaina Shekreferba, by him saying, so in other words, who determines what type of oath? The plaintiff is the one that's going to determine. Good. So then the guy is going to be chayv in a shvuas hesses. The imiratza, the galgal olav, kol elo advarim shvuas hashutfim. The words megalgal doesn't mean what it meant in the previous chapter. Megalgal means that he determines, no, my accusations, it's even though he has a vadai. He has a vadai accusation, but you know what? A vadai is not weaker than a suffix. If I have the power to make you swear a shvuas hashutfim by a tiny suffix, I don't lose that right to make you swear shvuas hashutfim when I'm coming with a vadai. He can make him swear shvuas hashutfim. Umashbir by tiny suffix. No, it's the words that this guy will say. Then, if it's going to be classified as shvuas hashutfim, he's going to say shaloi gozalte klum kol yimei hashutfim, or v'shezeh tanai. Or that this chayda sholcha, or that shenasatli kach v'chein cholcha yitzeh b'zem halacha beis tevei ashut kafay lash b'ashuas ashutim. So now let's go weiter. So now that one partner is evoking, he had an option. He's evoking shvuas ashutim. Comes along the defendant, and the defendant says, "Guys, halkot kvar cholak." What did we say by shvuas hashutfim? That you can only evoke shvuas hashutfim when you're working together. This guy is saying, you want shvuas hashutfim? No, we already separated. That's the whole claim. The plaintiff is saying, that's, now what do you do? Or the plaintiff says, you're right. I know that we divided. But you remember when we divided, we both agreed not to be moichel the shvuas hashutfim. Chalaknu al menas shenashbia oischa shvuas hashutfim mechole shenirtza. And that never happened yet. Adayin lenishbaitali. Fakert, I'm asking you to take a shvuas hashutfim. Va'ata matchli yoisi miyom liyoim. You know what? You cannot do it anymore. It's if the plaintiff would have used shvuas hesses, the guy would have to be taken off. Shvuas hesses has nothing to do with partnership. Since you had the right to choose, once you chose to say, I want you to do a shvuas hashutfim, if the defendant is claiming we are now at a time, it's now in a scenario where it's not shayach shvuas hashutfim. Even though the plaintiff is arguing with that, he cannot make him swear at all. Now, I want to say one thing. He never loses his right to say, okay, now take a shvuas hesses, that he still always has. Because whenever, that's the din, whenever I claim you owe me money, bevadai, doesn't matter whether we're partners, whether we're not partners, doesn't matter what I said until now, the other party has to take a shvuas hesses. But if the defendant will admit, kein cholaknu, the nisha lacha etzli, in other words, we divided. On the other hand, something was of yours is by me. I understand what you're saying, that we're not fully divided. But one second, whatever I have of yours, we agree to consider it a debt. No, I know that this item was of the partnership, but we spoke about this, and this is considered taka, something of yours that's mine, but as a new loan. Now I owe you for that. Oy pikodin hinachli etzli. Afal pi sheyesh edem shoyishu tafayim. Afilu. Einu yochal hashbia b'tayna safik. Amazing. Now, the einu yochal hashbia heses. Shekvar cholku oishul neshtat v'ma oilam. Amazing. The Rambam might say, okay, first of all, you can't even do shvuas hashutfim if the guy is moida that something of the partnership is with me, because he's saying, but that we already spoke about that, and this became a nula. Now, what happens if the other guy wants to make a shvuas hashutfim, because we said shvuas hashutfim is b'nekitas chayfetz, it's more common. So he's saying, no. You know what? Swear that what you're saying is true. I'm saying that we're still partners. You're claiming that we're no longer partners. Swear that we're no longer partners. I cannot make you swear for that. Shvuas Heses means I'm saying you owe me money. You're saying you don't own anything. Lahadam, koifer hakel. You have to take a Shvuas Heses. I never have the power to be mashbiah you on this taina. I'm saying we're partners. You're saying the partnership is over. Swear that the partnership is over. You don't even have to swear. That's what the Rambam is saying over here. You can't make a Shvuas Heses regarding this kind of gufa shekvar cholaknu. Lefi she'ein mashbiin Heses. Only for something that if the other party would have admitted to this taina, that admission would be mechayvim to pay money. What would happen if the other party will say, you know what, I don't want to take an oath. You emes, we're still partners. That in itself is not mechayvim money. The other party who's claiming the partnership was dissolved, if he were to admit that he's lying, that admission in itself is not mechayiv money. That would only now be mechayvim to make shvuas hashutfim. In our case, you don't have to swear regarding that, even through a gilgul. Beautiful. The plaintiff is insisting, no, you're still my partner. And the other guy says, no, but the guy says better. We've been never partners. So then that Rambam is saying, here he's making a specific claim for which any specific claim, and now umegalgal olav, like we learned in the previous chapter. Once a person is making a shvuas heses, al yidei gilgul, you have to know what to ask. I want you to know many times Beis doesn't advise you what to do. Anyways, you can get all the oaths, yeah, but you have to know what to claim. If you're demanding a shvuas heses, and then you tell the guy, swear, and on top of that, but what can you not make alidei gilgul? What we just learned above in halacha beis, you can never tell the guy, swear we were never partners. That's not shaykh, because even if he were to admit that he's a partner, that admission in itself is not machayiv money. You cannot make the guy swear, even Ali de Gilgul, Shekvar Cholaknu, from the time that we just said at the end of Halacha Gimel and Allah Halacha Beis. Halacha Dal.
So the Nipa swears is that.
I don't know you.
Right.
And the Teveya, if he knows what he's doing, the Teveya wants a Shvuas Hashut. That guy is claiming we're no longer partners. If you learn the Rambam, now you know what to do. So the Teveya tells the Beis, okay, I'm claiming that he owes me $100. Now, and for that he has to take a shvuas heses. But I would like for him to swear when he's anyways taking an oath, in addition, that while we were partners, he never stole anything from me. That he is able to do. Halacha dal. To'an sha'adayin shutafen anachnu. And therefore, v'yesh li lahash biyacha b'tayna safek. And the plaintiff wants just to make a shvuas hashut. And the defendant, like we said, excuse me, we were never partners. And the Hevi Hateveya Edim, and the plaintiff comes and he brings Edim that yes, now that they are Edim, so now that the defendant says, no. Here's a chaim. Yeah, we were partners, but we're no longer partners. Here, here we don't believe him anymore. Why should they Now you have to appreciate that in many cases, when a person is proven in Beis Din not to be neman ala shvua, the Beis Din cannot demand any shvua of him. We don't say it over here. And the Chanami, we don't allow him to take an oath because he's huchzak kafir ala shvua zu, but he still has nemanus. He still has nemanus. You know, it's now the plaintiff can evoke shvuas hashutim, and he has to take shvuas hashutim. This is very important.
Why would we allow him to swear even though he's a liar?
Because if I am huchzak gazlan, I can't swear. This guy is not huchzak gazlan. This guy's not called huchzak gazlan. He was just claiming we were never partners.
But what's the point of all of this? If the Kachila is a liar, so now make him swear.
Because people would lie, but they would not lie when they have to take an oath, and certainly not a shul sashut.
But here it was sure safek.
Yeah.
To begin with, he said, I don't know this guy. After what?
That means that he is a liar, not beneged. He was not trying to steal money because he's really saying, and now Dr. Adam, I know we were partners. We divided our partnership. People that are honest will do that. No, there's a certain amount of a lie that is not so chamur that Bezdin does not view this guy as someone who's guzzling money. Well, we were partners. Once we dissolved the partnership, I don't want to know you anymore. I'm going to say I never knew you. It doesn't mean that I'm a guzzler. Because now that Adam proved we were partners, we were partners, but we made a chalukah. We're done. Halachei. Reuven shehitel kiss. Arba meis dinarim. So you have a bank account. Reuven puts in there 400 dinarim. The hitel Shimon Mosayim, and he puts in 200, and now they are partners. Guys, we began in the beginning also. How you become partners? Everyone has to make a kinyan. That will be a great example, right? We learned about kinyan chatzit. How do you make a kinyan on money? Everyone owns everything. Another detail, we also learned that even though Reuven came in with 400, Shimon came in with 200, which means that at the end, Reuven is going to take back 4, Shimon is going to take back 2. But other than that, the profits that these monies make together are divided equally. That's the approach of the Rambam. That will be important. So they are equal partners, even though each one came in with a different amount of principal. The nasnu biyachad. Now, b'harei hamomin kulei biyad Reuven. The Torah on Reuven. That what shapachas kol hakeren chamesh meyois. That not only was there a loss at the end of all of the business dealings, not only did we lose the profits, but we lost from the principal. How much principal was lost? They began with 600 dinarim, and he's saying that 500 is missing. Now, when we say that I'm also paskin, let me say better, Rabbi Zajac, not only do they divide the profits equal, if there's profits, they divide it equal, and then everyone takes away their ket. But if there's a loss, the Rambam says, P&L, they divide their losses equal. Now let me ask you a question. If you have 100, if there's 100 dinner left, how much dinner did Shimon lose? 100. I'll tell you more. He lost 150. How much? He lost 150, right? Because he gave 200. If we were to divide this in half, how much money did Reuven lose? It's not the same. He gave 4. He's losing 350. That's the issue over here. What does he want? What Reuven wants? Reuven wants to keep the whole 100. If Reuven kept and I got it.
What's the cheshbon?
Listen. Okay, Reuven gave 400. It's gavaldik. Shimon gave 200. But I'm already paskin that if there's a loss, unless they specify, they have to have equal loss. They lost 500 from the Kedem. To make the loss equal, to make the loss equal, what will be equal loss? Each one should lose 250. For each one to lose 250 of the Keren, Reuven wants to keep the 100. Reuven wants to keep the 100, and he wants for Shimon to give him 50. Because if Reuven now will get 150, how much did Reuven lose? 250. That's what Reuven wants over here. So says the Rambam, Ein oimrim Yeshava Reuven shvuas hashutvim. That watch a pachazukach, because how does Shimon know that taka from the kiss? There's 500 missing. So you would say, okay, let him take that oath. Once we establish through a shvur that indeed 500 of the Keren is missing, Reuven gets to keep the 100, and on top of that, the Shalom Shimon Chamishmi Beisai, in order for Reuven to lose 250, which is half of the loss. We don't say that. That what he's saying is emes, that after all of the business dealings, not only is there no revach, but from the Keren itself, there's missing. You know how much? Almost everything. 500 is missing. Reuven Taki gets to keep the whole 100. Shimon gets nothing of it. But at least v'lo yishalim Shimon klum. That's the key over here. Reuven is only Neman with a shvuas hashutvim because he's a muchzik on the 100. That's the word. The $100 that's left in the kiss is beyad Reuven. He's a muchzik for that. But for him to be neman ad kedei kach, to be moitzi mammon from Shimon, ad kedei kach is not neman. To'an Reuven sheshimon yada bavade shepchaser shepachasnu. But if Reuven is claiming, no, Shimon knows that it's emes, that from the 600 we're down 5. Yegalgal al Shimon she'ena yedei bavadai schum hapchas hazeh. The most he can do is, in other words, if one thing is clear, guys, if Shimon would be moide in Beis Din that I can know that 500 is missing, that would be the halacha. Wrap your hand around it. That Shimon would now have to go out of pocket. It's crazy. And add 50 in order for their loss to be equal. Elamah Shimon is not admitting to that. So he can be megalgal on Shimon a shvua she'eni yevavad. Tabeim lo nesasek Shimon b'shut v'zu klal. If Shimon was not involved at all. And what did we learn above, guys? We learned above in the last chapter that if you have 2 partners, but one of them only came in with money, which means one of them did not do any business dealings, he can never be demanded to make a shvos hashutrim. So he can't demand that even through Gilgal. So Yeshava Shimon Hesses, she'eni de'abavadish zeh hefsid. You ask me, L'maynaf Kamina, I'll tell you again, shvos hashutrim is benekitas chayfetz. It's a more lenient shvua. V'ya pater means, even though Shimon won't get half of that, the 100. Shimon is not getting anything.
More lenient?
Shvus Hesses is more lenient.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. The Loyoid says the Rambam, furthermore, if the kiss now is in the hands of Shimon, because if there were to be profits, they would split it half and half. You look in the kiss, you see 100, 50-50. She'ein hashutev min hanishboin v'noitlin k'dei sheyeshava v'yitol ma shebiyad chaveiroi. If Reuven doesn't have access to it, not only will he not get the additional 50, he won't even get the 100. Ela nishba v'niftar. Oy noitel midav shutachas yadoi. The Rambam says v'zor b'din zeh shekfar tov by ba'alei haro. Which will be and make a huge difference who's in the possession of the file of this bank account. Only when it's biyad Reuven, only biyad Reuven, it's amazing. Can Reuven actually sometimes get another 50 out of Shimon if he's Moida, and if he's not Moida, he gets to keep the whole 100. If it's not biyad Reuven, then the money, the mana that's left will be divided 50-50. And the final halacha in this chapter, and the final halacha in Hilchei Shluchim, Oshutvim, says that Rambam To'an Shimoin, Sheyesh Levi Olav Chayv Bezu Hashutvis. Shimon claims that he owes Levi a money because of the partnership. In other words, Shimon, Reuven and Shimon are partners. Shimon is claiming that from the partnership, a mana, $100 is owed to Levi. If Shimon has in his possession, right? In his possession, what? Rabbi Chaim Al-Kop. Resources of this partnership. He has money of the partnership, which will cover the mana. So now we say Migu. He could have given it to Levi, right? No, done. He could have claimed the money is his. So then that this money belongs to Levi, the Noisnen HaChoiv, which means that now the resources that we mentioned is down by Yamana, and only from what is left over, now do you divide it? But the im ein biyodei litoy. If Shimon, who's making the claim, Reuven doesn't know about it, that our partnership owes to Levi Yamana, and Shimon doesn't have possession, why? Because you say maybe Shimon and Levi, right? They're working together to Bagan Reuven. By Shimon claiming the partnership, we owe money to Levi. Shimon is going to take money out of the partnership and give it to Levi, and then Levi will give a kickback. I'll next say to Reuven. It's crazy. If there's a document that Levi, there's a document against the partnership Einu Reuven chayav l'shalom imana klum.
Well, why is this looked at just as an issue of Shimon and not both Shimon and Reuven?
What was it? Let me just speak on one thing before that. Levi has a document. Levi has a document. Why doesn't the document prove it? Levi has a document against the partnership. If Shimon is the one that's aware of it and not Reuven, we are choishish that the partnership lent money to Levi. Levi had a document. Shimon paid the money. Normally, Shimon would take back the document. Shimon told Levi, hold on to the document.
What would he say?
Because he wants to then make the kanunya against Reuven. Shimon won't lose anything. He would rather pay again Levi and get back 90%, giving Levi 10%, versus leaving this money in the pot, and Reuven is going to take 50% of it. Guys, this is good. I'm sorry, Danny. What were you saying before?
No, I guess you're saying that it's because only one partner knows about this.
That's it.
That's what it comes down to.
And it's guys, and it's all about the whole. This is behemshuk to last pedic. It's all about shvuas hashutfim. That there's certain speikois on every partner by default. Maybe you're dishonest. It's part of these doubts. Well, that's a chiddush even b'shtat. Avolim to'an Shimon. Now what happens? Another one. Shimon says, Shimon is claiming to Beis Din, no, Reuven knows about it. Not Reuven, you don't know about it, but I'm letting you know, and here's a document. If Shimon is adding, he's saying, hold on, before we divide the partnership, you know about this. Reuven is saying, Gechvei is garnished. Yeshava Reuven Hesses, Oy alidei Gilgul, she'eni yodea shechayv zetzleinu. And once, Reuven will have to react with an oath to substantiate his kind of, I don't know about it. But once Reuven does not know about it, Shimon cannot get that money. Now it's even worse for Shimon, because Shimon was made the money is owed. Reuven gets to say, no, we don't. Shimon says the money is owed, so Shimon will have to pay Levi out of his own share. The Yishalom Shimon chayv mishaloi.
No, pay Reuven, not pay Levi.
No, pay Levi. Shimon has a Shimon. There's a document against the partnership. There's a shtar. Reuven is claiming, I don't know about this. I'm not paying it from the partnership. Levi is going to get the money. What? Levi is going to lose out because we're chayish that they're making a kanunya. Levi had a document. Or if Shimon is a diehard, even if it's not a document, we owe money. Basically, it's going to tell him, okay, fine, you have to pay him, but out of your share. Chenim yotzer shtar choyv al Levi b'shem Shimon b'meir dinarim imma ois hashutves. If there's a document that attests, guys, that Shimon loaned money to Levi, but it was money from the partnership, which means, forget, it's a document that says that Levi owes money to the partnership. And Shimon comes along and he says, I paid that debt. Nifrati. See, here's the problem. Problem is, guys, in the opposite direction. They have a document. The partnership has a document. You know what the document says, Yakir? The document says that someone owes the money to the partnership. Someone owes the money. One partner is claiming the money was already paid back. If he wouldn't have said it, the partnership would have gotten the extra money. One partner says, no, the money was already paid back and I already put it back in the joint account. The other partner is saying, how do we know that's true? Same thing. Maybe the money was not paid back. We have a document that someone owes the business money. Can one partner claim the money was already paid back? He's lowering the value of the business. You get it? Oisha Amar Shimon. Shimon says, yeah, there's a document that is attesting that Levi owes money to us. But one partner says, I know that. But we also had an understanding that Levi only has to pay us in 10 years from now. He'll pay in 10 years from now. A year, 2 years. In all of these cases, one partner won't be believed, always because of a kanunya. Shema Kenunya who oisa al nichsei reuven. Now, what do you do? Levi won't have to pay. Why won't Levi have to pay in the first case, Yakir? Because Shimon is claiming Levi already paid. Levi won't pay. Which means Shimon will have to add of pocket that money. The most he can do is V'yitva Levi b'seif zman shomer. Like if Shimon is claiming, oh, we gave him a year, fine. Basin says, okay, Beseder. Right now, you put the money in the account, you Shimon, and you keep the document, and after a year, go collect from him. One partner won't be neman to make a type of claim which will make either the business have less money because we owe, or to say that money that's owed was already paid. One partner doesn't have that emanus. Obviously, guys, if the other partner believes him, that's mechila, gesundheit, but by default, you have to be careful. With this, we say, God willing to be continued.
What if the guy says that he got it? Meaning, the other guy that says I paid it, and he says, yeah, you did pay us. So now you have Levi saying he paid it, Shimon admitting that he paid it. Reuven doesn't really know, and we're still saying that Shimon would have to pay Reuven.
I would word it like this, Danny. If Reuven will be maskim, Reuven will say, okay, if that's what you guys are saying, I'm believing you, then Reuven is giving up a right. All of this, the point is, Reuven doesn't have to say, bevadai, what you're saying is not true. This is included in this whole concept of shvuas hashutvim, or that there's a doubt. One partner doesn't have that enough namanus. Danny, let me say better. When two people enter a halachic partnership, they should write concerning all of these things that one person will be believed. You have to be Michael. You have to accept my kindness. If not, it's going to be crazy.
So if they put that in, then they can't.
No, they can't, because when it comes to money, we're making a partnership under the conditions that if I'm managing the money, if you don't trust me, let's not be partners. If you're going to trust me, then I need to have the manos to say that we owe money or we don't owe money.